The whole idea, when the trap is set, the deer is going to be coming towards you. Welcome to another episode of For You to Survive. Today we're going to find some calories in the woods in the form of deer meat. So the whole idea is to get a whole lot of meat so you can have a whole lot of calories so you can stay warm. Because in these kind of conditions, you need calories to burn so you can stay warm. So let's start off by saying that, one, this is illegal, so don't snare deer unless your life is on the line and you're in an actual survival situation. Two, this is not fun, it's not a game, so don't do this at all for any kind of entertainment. This video is for educational purposes only. I don't like to hurt animals, I'm not into that, that's not my thing, but you gotta know what to do to survive sometimes, so tuck this away in your back pocket and don't use it unless absolutely necessary. You've been warned. When you're looking for a deer, you try to look for 2 or 3 sets of tracks that kind of blend into one set of tracks or a trail. So that way you can find out where the animals are going and you can find a direction that they're moving in. So you can set your trap in a direction that the animal's moving in. So that's what you prefer. And you want to kind of funnel in the trap so it kind of funnels to make the animal go in it, and then it's about body length, and then it goes back out again. So the animal's not afraid, or it doesn't look too suspicious, so it's possible for you to catch something. I like to look for a beat down trail that is well traveled, say after it rains or snows. I'm looking for 2 to 3 sets of new tracks, preferably moving in a downhill direction in a narrow place with the light brush that deer would have to push through. You can look for runs, trails, droppings, chewed vegetation or rubbed vegetation. Look for hair, feeding, watering areas. If you're a trapper, you're going to set your traps out ahead of time, but you're not going to actually set them. You're going to have your traps outside weathering and kind of like getting the smells off of them. But in survival, you kind of have to set them and use them as is that very day. So that's what you got to do. But you want to have minimal disturbance, so you don't want to like break saplings and have like the sap and the juices go all over, because that creates smell, and animals are afraid of that and they get wary of that, so they probably won't go in and check out the trap and fall for it. You want to make your trap away from the trap site, so you're minimizing your disturbance of the area. So you make your logs, you make your snares, then you go to the site, you set it up, and then you get out of there. You don't kneel. You try not to touch everything all around. You minimize your scent that you leave in the area so you don't scare the animals away. If the situation arises, you may have to try to cover the scent up by smoking the trap, leaving it underwater a little bit for a few minutes, maybe putting some damp or decaying vegetation on it, maybe some urine from other animals that you have from the past, maybe some scent glands from the inside legs of a deer. That'll attract them, but you have to catch something first. So, and this is more long term. Other things that you might use, if you're by the ocean or sea, you can boil down some seawater and make salt out of that and kind of make a salt lick. I have a video where I made salt from seawater. You can also use apples. I did find some apples on a snowy day today, and that might be enough to attract them. Actually, I also have some freeze-dried apples, which might also be possible. It might just be the right amount of scent to attract them if there's nothing around. And I mean, it's really scarce right now. The weather's pretty rough, and you know they can paw into the ground. The snow's kind of a light layer, but still, times are getting harder for them. So the longer winter persists, the more difficult it'll be for them to get food. So if you have a little bit of salt, apples. Sometimes people use corn, but who's going to bring corn? I mean, I can find an apple in the woods, but I'm probably not finding corn in the woods. If I'm finding corn, then I'm not in a survival situation. Acorns are another bait, but you got to put them all around and attract them that way. But in this time of year, you're dependent more on like where the trails go, so the deer are traveling in one direction, because you're probably not going to bait them or find a bait this time of year. It's like, I'm not going to find acorns very easily today, so, and there's no real acorns in this area, so I'd be out of luck if I try to use bait. So I got to use the natural runs or the trails that the deer go on to capture them. It's been suggested for bait, You could attract deer if like you cut some basswood twigs down or some maple twigs. That might be enough branches for them to munch and chew on, especially in the winter time. Another thing is you want to check your traps at dusk and dawn. You want to make sure you stay a little bit farther away from them so you don't scare them away, but you want to check your traps regularly because you don't want the animal to suffer, and you don't want predators to come and eat the meat and then you'll be left with bones the next day. So that's not good either. So that's a waste of a life that you don't need. Plus, the animal might chew the cord that you have or the wire, but we're going to talk about using cord for this one. So if the animal chews the cord and snare, it's going to get away. So that's ineffective and you lost a good resource. Some of you might need to hear this, but make sure the animal's dead before you approach it, because it might still have a lot of fight in it and you don't want to get hurt in the process. Survival's already rough. You don't need to be injured trying to get your food. I've seen it in some reference that Native Americans caught deer before. They didn't have cable, so cable's out, and we're not going to have cable with us unless we purposely bring it. So you'd have to rely on rope or that sort of thing, but we're going to use paracord in this situation. And there's 550 paracord, which is common, but there's also 1,000 strength paracord. So 1,000 pound paracord is a much stronger version, so that'll increase your chances of the animal not getting away. I read where rope is enough to snare a deer, so it all depends on how heavy it is. So basically, if you almost catch something and it breaks your rope or cord, get a heavier cord. That might be your solution. One reference suggests using a 3-strand braided cord for a leg hold trap, but we're going to talk about a snare with this kind of setup with a log drag, because yes, you can get the twitch up snare with a sapling or limb that gives some play, but this time of year, would it freeze too much? Would there be enough play? We're better off using the log as a drag, and that's another option that we have. With a twitch up trap, maybe the components will freeze. Like today there was so much ice on the limbs in a tree, so you don't want your triggering device to be frozen in, but granted, if the animal pulls on it hard enough because it wants to get away, it's probably going to dislodge it, but we're not going to take a chance. A dollar bill is about 6 inches long. That's about the size of log you need, and it has to be 10 feet long. I'm going to use my measuring string so I can cut a 10-foot section. All right, let's set this up. The whole idea, when the trap is set, the deer is going to be coming towards you, and then it's going to pull everything. You may choose to use cans or bells, especially for the twitch up springy snare with a branch, but basically check the snares regularly so you don't have to worry about it. So here's the thing, a well-anchored snare, the animal's probably going to kill itself in a short time, but you don't necessarily want a strangled animal because that meat's not really going to be good. You want to have a 7-inch diameter snare when the loop is closed so the animal doesn't strangle itself and ruin the meat. So you want to have like some kind of stopper. The snare is going to be 18 inches off the ground and it's going to be 24 inches in diameter. We're not really going to take tape measures with us in the woods. That's not really practical. You may choose to have a measuring string in your kit or in your gear. What I did was I put a string and I got 18 inches, so I know that that's the height from the ground. And I got 19 because I know that's how big a loop's going to be. You'll see that later on. 24 inches for the diameter of the snare loop. And then I put 8 feet 5 inches because that's going to be a stopper end loop for me, which I'll show you later. I got 10 feet here for the size of the log, and 12 feet here, because that's how long I'm going to make my snare. What I should have did is put 6 inches on here, but that gives me an opportunity to tell you that, hey, that dollar bill, that's commonly 6 inches, 6 1/8 inch for a dollar bill. I measured it, so it gives you an idea. It's a pretty good guesstimate. Anyway, the measuring string is nice. The good thing is, depending on how tall you are, for me it's about 2 arm spans, so I know that that's a good length for a snare for me. Here's a 12-foot length of paracord, which this is orange so you can see it better. If you're going to do it for real, you're probably looking for darker colors that blend in better, like black. So that's something to consider. I'm going to make an overhand loop knot so I can show you what I'm doing. So there's the overhand loop knot. What I'm going to do now, I'll dress it up. I'm going to put my fingers through. I'm going to grab, and now I have a lark's head. So now through the lark's head, I'm going to put the end of this snare through. So there we go through there. And what's going to happen is, it's kind of like a good grip knot. So once I grip and go, it's hard to take this off. It gets on there pretty hard. So that's good to know. I'm actually having trouble taking it off. But I did mention earlier how we want this to be a 7-inch diameter. So how do we make this stop at 7 inches? I'll show you how. I showed you my measuring string earlier. This knot was 18 inches, this knot is 19 inches. So I'm going to use the 19-inch as a guide. So I'm going to make a loop that's 19 inches. So there we go. I'm going to make the overhand loop knot. Then I can make the lark's head knot, and I can feed the other end through. And then there's my loop. I'm going to dress it up there. So now this is going to close at 7 inches. So that's 7 inches right there. So that's as tight as we want to get it. The knot here prevents it from closing any further. One thing that's good to know is when you have this set up, you don't want to make this lark's head like clamp down too hard and tight. You want to kind of loosen it up a little bit so it moves freely. So just loose enough to move freely. So whenever the head and neck goes through, or even the body, it has just enough room to slide easily. And then once the strong tension goes, it locks up even more. Here's the loop at 24 inches in diameter. What I did ahead of time is at the 8 feet 5 inch mark, I put a little knot here. So I know that that's going to be as far as I have to go to open and get my 24-inch loop. So you can do whatever you want. You can mark it with a Sharpie or do something to mark it in your own way. So, but anyway, I know that once I have it here, I know this is the right diameter that I need. So now we have to attach it to the log. We're not playing games here, so what I'm going to do is put a jam knot in here. I'll feed the rest through. And there. Now I'm way more confident that this knot is going to hold and it's not going to come undone. Now we have to figure out the height from the ground. So here's 18 inches here. So I know that that's where the bottom of the snare is going to be. You could even take a 18-inch stick and let that be your guide so you know where you got to put it. I'm going to take this stick and use it for something to tie to. The fork sticks work a lot nicer because they're going to hold against a tree and they're more likely to stay in place. Remember that grass from earlier? We're going to take a strand and we're going to let this hold the loop open. This grass can break, so that's what we want. We want just enough to hold this snare loop open. This isn't wire, so it's not going to stay open like wire, but we're going to make this the best circle that we can. This is not the easiest thing to do. You make it as best you can. So here's 18. So we're right about at 18 and 24. And here's 24-inch width, 24-inch width that way. If I wanted to, I could probably find some sticks and put these up a little bit, tie a little more grass here. That's better. So this is the snare. The whole idea is once the animal gets caught, it's going to pull it over and it's going to try to get away, but after a few attempts, it's going to get tired and just kind of like stay there and kind of rest. In other cases, the animal's going to drag the log and it's going to get tangled in a bunch of trees and saplings, so it can't really go anywhere. So the idea is to tire out the animal so it's still around when you're going to dispatch it. Before we set the snare, I'm trying to channelize the route. So here's some little bit of vegetation. Here's some more trees. So that makes it look like, the only good path to go through is right straight through here. And I would do the same on the other side. The animal comes through here. It gets caught. Then it tries to drag this big log, which is not the easiest thing to do. In this case, if it went back, it would get stuck and caught. Maybe it would go the other way. But the whole idea is to stop it from moving. Remember, this is last-ditch effort, and only in a survival situation should you ever think about using something like this. It's not for fun, it's illegal, so don't do this. Because this is illegal, there's no way I can practice and train on doing this, so I've never done this before. I wanted to present this information for you to survive. I want to thank all my subscribers and everybody who watches. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are really helping out my channel. I appreciate it. Keep on drilling.